Good morning, and thank you as usually for joining us for another Sales and Marketing FriTalks. Every second Friday, we share insights, best practices, and anecdotes from technology companies. Today, our guest is Kevin Sahin. He is the co-founder of ScrapingBee, a web scraping API that grew to 1 million ARR just in 2 years. And guess what? The large part of this growth was driven by the content marketing, and that is exactly what we will discuss today. So welcome, Kevin.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, so just for the starting of the conversation, could you please share us, your company background and how did you started your journey? How was it going, and then where you are now?
Yeah. So I have a background in software engineering. Pretty classic background. I found in love with computers when I was a kid. Then I went to university to study computer science. Initially, I wanted to do a master's degree, but quickly I was kind of bored at university, so I dropped out after 3 years to join a startup in France. I'm French, and at this startup, I was. It was kind of like Mint.com in the US. So we were doing bank accounts aggregation. So I was doing a lot of web scraping. The startup was located in a startup incubator. So there was lots of talks every week about entrepreneurship, etc. And I was meeting lots of founders. And immediately, it made me dream of starting my own business. And I was going to every meetups I could and meeting all these entrepreneurs and talking, etc., etc. And then the startup got acquired by a big French bank. So I went through the acquisition process. I saw the founders getting rich overnight. I mean, it's not overnight, but from my perspective, it was overnight. I learned lots of things in the process, how a big company works, how an acquisition works, etc., etc.
Yeah.
On the side, I was running a blog about programming and about web scraping. And it grew pretty significantly without me knowing anything about SEO or content marketing. I was just, blogging night and weekends for fun, basically. And at some point, 2 years after working for the company, I was kind of getting bored, and I have this, inner voice that says you should start your own thing. So I quit, and the first thing I made after quitting was a book about web scraping called the German Web Scraping Handbook. And then with my lifelong friend and partner, and now partner Pierre, we were having lots of side projects for fun. And one day he also he also wanted to quit his job and launch his own company. He was working at a French startup also as a data engineer. So we made lots of side projects, and one day we decided to build kind of a real company. We had this idea of a price monitoring SaaS. So we launched it in 2018. It was called PricingBot, and the original idea was it was from a side project that we did It was a Chrome extension that monitored product on e-commerce sites, and we
Uh-huh.
discovered that lots of users were adding hundreds of products. And in fact, those users weren't compulsive buyers, but were e-commerce owners that were monitoring their competitors. So we thought, okay,
Mhm.
maybe there's something to do here. And so we had this idea of launching a SaaS to serve those users. And it was a failure. We worked on it for about a year, and we never managed to get past $1,000 in MOR for many reasons. The main reason is that we didn't knew anything about e-commerce, and we didn't had any distribution channel, and we didn't know how to market to e-commerce owners. But the nice thing that we gain out of this project and is that we did a lot of web scraping for this project. We had to scrape e-commerce sites to get the price
Yes.
information, the image, description, etc. And we there were many problems in the scraping process, technical problems. And in the market, we didn't find any tool, any API that could solve all those problems. But internally, we had built an engine to solve most of these problems. So we figured out that it was probably there were probably a need in the market for an API like this, because there are many other companies that needs to scrape data for their product, whether it's in e-commerce or real estate or marketing or
Yes.
many there are many use cases for web scraping. So we launched ScrapingBee in 2019, and the experience that we had with pricing bot, like the failure, was a good one, because for ScrapingBee, we knew that we had a distribution channel, because
Yeah.
both Pierre and I run pretty successful blogs. On my own personal blog, almost all my articles were about web scraping. So I knew that there was lots of search volume, that it was not hard to rank for these keywords. And also, my co-founder Pierre and I, we really loved to write. Like it was, we did this as a hobby before even having a company. So that's the story behind like how we had the idea, and yeah.
Yeah, so sounds very, very interesting and encouraging as well. But yeah, so it sounds that also that currently you have built a business which is primarily is used by developers, right? And that is where you managed actually to crack the code to make developers first of all to consume your content, what you have produced, and secondly to buy your product to some extent, right?
Yeah.
So could you just share an experience like why exactly the content marketing became like as a main engine for you? You mentioned partially because of the previous experience, but probably it's not just that. Probably you did something else to figure out which way to go.
Yeah, so I think there are many explanations about that. So the first thing is that we've always wanted to stay either bootstrapped or mostly bootstrapped. We never wanted to go the venture capital path for many reasons. So it never crossed our mind to try to sell the product with ads, for example, because we didn't have the money at the beginning to do that. We didn't have any experience with cold outreach. So it was pretty natural for us to start with content marketing. And it was so natural that we even started our blog before having an actual product. So we started blogging 3 or 4 months before launching the first beta. And so when we launched the product, the API in beta, we already have significant traffic on the website, and immediately we saw that it was converting. Like we had signups, trial since day one, and those trials were converting since day one. So like I think in the first months of the company, we reached 1K in MRR in the first month. So it was a huge milestone for us because it was over what we have done with our previous project in a year. So it was like insane for us. So immediately we knew that it was working, and so I read a lot of startup books. Obviously, maybe too much. There is one book that I really liked about marketing. It's called Traction, and in this book, basically the main advice is try every marketing channel that you can, and he lists a lot of different marketing channels. And when you find one that works, just stick with it, and that's exactly what we did. The other thing,
Yes, actually, I can say that from our experience, and we have reviewed perhaps hundreds of companies when we are doing competition analysis. We also have noticed that there are sometimes in some industries companies standing out which do one thing and maybe think that you wouldn't expect, but they do it extremely well, and that's where they get lots of success. So I can totally agree that this can work. Once you find something that works, try to exploit it as much as possible.
yeah. The other thing I think that made us stick with it, is that I think it it's there is kind of marketing channel founder fit,
Yes.
meaning that for me, content marketing and SEO is a bit like gardening, and it really
I
fits
see.
it really fits my personality. I like things that go kind of slowly and with a repeatable process, and where the progress stacks over time. So I really like this. I mean, it fits my personality a lot.
Yeah, I think it is very important, and as you said, basically there are two ways of selling your product or marketing your product. One is just to pay to go the paid way, right? So you pay Google, you pay LinkedIn or somebody else to attract your customers, and then you can go the probably slower way, but with less direct costs. But still, costs anyway exists, and I'm wondering, like, how much time for you it took really to work on this, to make it really work. Both writing, but I assume that you did also some research beforehand.
Basically, it was all my time, and even some of my partner's peer time at the beginning. We quickly split the roles into Pierre was managing the tech, and I was managing the sales and marketing. And basically, all my time, or 90% of my time, was spent on SEO. So I was doing keyword research, the content plans. At the beginning, I was writing the articles myself. So since we really focused on in-depth tutorials, and when I say in-depth, I mean 4,000 words. Sometimes I could spend 2 or 3 weeks on one article, and then spending as much time promoting it. So for the promotion, I was reaching out to every single newsletter I could find on the subject. And there are many in the tech industry. We are very lucky about that. It's not like in some niches. In tech and programming, there are literally hundreds of newsletters. So when you have, so of course you cannot reach out to everyone, because it wouldn't be a very relevant to everyone. But there are lots of work to do when you want to reach out to newsletters. For the distribution, we were posting on lots of content aggregation platforms, and there are many in tech. For example, there are lots of Medium publications, dev.co, Hashnodes, Reddit, Hacker News, Lobsters, many. As I said, tech is very, and programming especially, is a very special place to be when you're doing content marketing and SEO, because there are many opportunities to distribute your content. So that's a great thing.
Yeah. So what I would like to understand better, like developers, they again, we discussed it earlier, that they are quite skeptical, quite picky in terms of what they actually consume and what not.
Yeah.
Could you maybe just share some insights about the building the content plan? So you did like keyword research, and I assume that there are already a lot of content serving the kind of high intent keywords, right? So how did you made your content more preferable than others? And
so there are many things that are very special about content marketing for developers. So the first one is that the keyword research process can be very hard to do in a traditional fashion. Meaning, if you apply the normal playbook of content marketing, and that you're doing your keyword research with the traditional keyword research tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Moz, etc., you're going to have a hard time. There are two reasons for this. The first one is that tech is moving very fast. There are new technologies, new frameworks, new languages every month. So those keyword research tools won't even have any data for most new tech. And the data that they have for old tech, and when I say old tech, it can be like things that launched a year or 2 years ago, is going to be out of date, because things are moving very fast. Like you can have a framework, a new framework that gain 1 million users in a few months. And that's what makes keyword research, especially for long tail keywords, really hard when you're doing when you're working on tech and programming. So what can you do instead? What you can do is to look for other signals. For example, Stack Overflow is a really good way to do keyword research when you're marketing to developers, because on Stack Overflow is like one of the most popular websites for developers. You can filter the technologies. Like, for example, if you want to write about Ruby on Rails, well, you can go to Stack Overflow, filter by tag Ruby on Rails, filter by the most popular question and answer, and then you'll have
ideas for the content.
You have amazing data, because on Stack Overflow you even have not only the upvotes of the question, but also the number of times it has been viewed. So it's a gold mine. The other thing that you can do, of course, is to use Reddit. Reddit is insane. Like, you go to any tech subreddit, again, the same process. You filter by popular, etc. So it's I really advise people to use Reddit and Stack Overflow for long tail keywords or new technologies. And for old technologies, of course, with high volumes keywords, the regular keyword research tools works very well. I use Ahrefs extensively, but yeah.
So it's combination basically of the traditional tools just to identify high volume keywords, but then going to more qualitative research and looking into the channels where the audience actually is consuming the content or actually sharing the content, and then generating out of these ideas on your next content, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kevin, Kevin, I just wanted to ask. It seems that indeed content marketing has worked well for you, and it has also in some way turned you into considerable authority regarding the scraping. What about side effects? Are people reaching out to have you, let's say, talk at conferences, inviting you to speak, or you just stay as a rather niche authority for people who have this very specific interest?
Yeah. So far, I mean, I haven't received any invitation to speak. I mean, there's not a lot of conferences about web scraping. There is one actually. It's called the Extract Summit.
Yes.
But I don't think of any other conference about web scraping. But maybe someday.
Maybe it's another opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I had exactly the same idea. You are perhaps the best positioned person on earth to actually launch such a conference.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Maybe we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin, also, like, again, coming back to the audience itself, knowing the specifics of this audience, and considering the volume of existing content, you said you were going like really into the more in-depth type of approach, like having very lengthy, almost documented type of content, right? Documentation type of content. But how did you make actually people read so long content? Because I assume it's pretty boring if you just read something like purely technical, formal, and stuff like that. So how did you make people stick to this content and coming back and repeating what they did before?
So there are two, I would say, two answers to this. The first one is when you're marketing to developers, you cannot have conversion in mind, unfortunately. Like you cannot sell them your product inside your content. It has to be informational. It has to be a tutorials. It has to provide pure value. You don't ask for email. You don't ask for anything. You just provide pure value and something that will satisfy their intellectual curiosity. So that's and it's really important to do that, because that way developers will share your content and will not be feels like they are getting ripped off or anything by your content. So that's the first answer. We don't have any call to action inside the blogs or anything like that. The second thing, how do we do in order to make technical content not boring? There's we've spent a lot of time and effort to differentiate ourselves in the content and make it make fun projects inside the blog post, so that from the beginning of the blog post, they know that they will do something fun, they will learn something fun. And then there is the tone. So in order to do that, in order to have an engaging blog post, one of the things that we did initially that helped us a lot was to hire either content editors, professional content editors. So basically, they will help you turn a boring blog post into an engaging one. And I highly recommend everyone doing content marketing seriously to hire a content editor from day one. The thing I did in order to find a good one is that I posted ads on job ads on different websites, and I gave like 5 different content editor the same blog post that I wrote. And I asked them to edit it, and I just picked the best one. And not only I picked the best one, not in terms of just in terms of outcome, but also the comments that they will and the feedback that they provide me.
And the style, probably the voice of tone, right?
Yeah,
Tone of voice.
and
Right?
it changes everything. Like, I mean, it's for me now it's a no-brainer, and I tell everyone, if you're doing content marketing seriously, just hire a content editor. It will change everything.
Yeah, I think it's a very, very good advice. And in terms of the building the content itself, so it's pretty time consuming, as you said. So, and initially you did it mainly yourself. Are you still continue doing it yourself, like creating the content, or you now have those content editors who basically takes your raw ideas and raw materials and then they transform it into the final, let's say, content?
Yeah,
How
so,
that does it work?
there were 3 phases, I would say. The first one was when I was doing everything myself, keyword
Yes.
research, content planning, content writing, etc. And then there was a second phase where I hired lots of content writers, and I was doing only the keyword research and briefs. And then I stopped doing it because I was having a hard time scaling it, because there is a, especially basically a technical content writer is always also a developer, and they always have, you know, the developer market is very wild, and so they always have tens of offers from everywhere, and so there is a lot of a very high churn in terms of like they will it's hard to keep a technical content writer. So it was really difficult for me to handle because I was managing tens of freelancers, because I couldn't work only with one, because we were writing about tens of different technologies. So I
Yes.
had to find experts in each technology, and it was really a nightmare to do. And so right now we have this hybrid approach where we still have a pool of content, of freelance content editors, content writers, sorry, working for us, but we also work with an agency specialized in technical content writing. And it's like it's much better because I have some kind of peace of mind of knowing that it's their job to have as many content writers, technical content writers as possible, and it's their job to find the good one and to you know, all the hiring and managing themselves. And so
Sure.
right now, what I do is I still do the content, the keyword research and distribution.
I see. I see. Yeah, sounds very reasonable approach, and that's what we also experience. That, you know, this hybrid model helps you scale, because obviously there is almost no such an agency or freelance person who can write as good as you, or not right, but to be an expert as good as you in this subject. But same time they can contribute with the quality of writing and putting it into the right, let's say, perspective and everything else, and that can be a very good combination to follow. But same time we also like experience this, that, you know, the approach you just described also requires quite a different mindset on the founder level, or in general on the company level, because being especially a startup, you're accountable for very quick results, right? To show, hey, we have like monthly revenue that much, or we are growing that much, and so on and so forth. You always need to be, you know, on this growing mode to get again funded or supported anyhow else, and so on. So investing so much time as you just described, it's not easy task whatsoever. But secondly, I'm wondering that it also requires like quite a lot of passion in doing this, and patience same time for, you know, getting results back, because it's not a very short time ROI in there, right? And how did you balance that in your case? So not seeing results, immediate results, maybe today or tomorrow, but continuing doing this like for future midterm return, and how long it actually took for you to see real results coming out of it.
Yeah. So I would say that like at some point it was in November or December 2019, we were running low on money because the company was doing like maybe $2,000 or $3,000 a month in revenue. So it wasn't obviously enough to pay ourselves. And my partner Pierre, he had to take a consulting work to help fund the company a little bit. But still, it wasn't ideal because he was working on the consulting part, and I was handling everything. So it was really hard. And so we've decided in November or December 2019 that it was time for us to do something about the money situation. So we, at the same time, we saw a post from Tiny Seed, which is a fund for bootstrappers. It can seem a bit counterintuitive, but basically their model is that they don't look for a unicorn. They look for highly profitable SaaS businesses that will probably go 7 or 8 figures, but they don't look for unicorns. And it was perfect for us because we knew Rob Walling. I mean, we didn't knew him personally, but we've had read his books and knew the community for a long time. So we've decided to apply, and we were lucky to get accepted in the program. So it on top of the money, it gave us lots of like we gained a lot of insights from other from the mentors, from the community, from the masterminds, etc., etc. And it really helped us. It has put us in a situation where we could take our time to build a solid SEO foundation without having financial pressure. And basically, I would say that from 0 to 10K in MR, it took us 12 months, and from 10K to 83 or to 1 million in AR, it took us 12 months also. So
2 years in general,
yeah. So basically, I would say that the inflection point was the 12 months period. At this time, it started to grow very fast. So yeah, I mean, you can say that 12 months is a lot, or maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's.
It very much depends. I think it's hard to say. For some, it's a lot. For another, it's maybe not so long time. But in any case, what I just heard from you that it takes time. But if you persistently follow this approach, it definitely pays back. You have like now 1 million annual revenue business, which is I mean many people are like would be happy to have it, right? And that is just
congratulations.
by doing this what you actually love to do, writing content yourself, but then also actually making your audience love you because of this content and starting to basically advocate for you, and then amplifying your company message, and that's I think is beautiful outcome. So I really would like to thank you for sharing these great insights. As time is running out, we need to wrap up. And what I heard today is that basically you need to really do something what you are passionate about, do it with the consistency in mind, but also thinking of how to scale it. And also in the content marketing approach, it can be scalable, though not always it can be fully outsourced, but nevertheless, you can combine different resources, internal and external resources, to make it really grow. And secondly, I think it's very important to not rely only on very traditional approach and tools, but also go in to do more qualitative research of your audience and topics, what they prefer, what they are actually looking answers to, and then leverage that for building your content, in-depth content. Think of making your content as a brand through the tone of voice, and for that reason you can leverage this content editor help. And I think the distribution was another thing what you mentioned, like making sure that your content then is available in all the places where your audience exists, right? Newsletters, aggregators, and many others. Anything else what I missed maybe as a summary, or did I cover everything we discussed?
I think you pretty much summarized what we talked about. So it was a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And just as a reminder to our audience, for those who are watching us now, thank you very much being with us. For those who are listening to us, please give us your feedback by providing a rating to our podcast. And please do follow our company, ibd-consulting, through the LinkedIn. And you can always find all previous FriTalks through the hashtag FriTalks on LinkedIn, and watch or listen to the previous conversations. Otherwise, I once again would like to thank you, Kevin, for sharing with us your insights and learnings from your journey. I wish you a great success and continue growing your business. And I'm looking forward actually to have another conversation maybe in a while to see how this is moving. Yeah.
Same.
Yes.
Thank you very much, guys.
Yes. Thank you. Have a good day and great
Thank you once
weekend.
again. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.